In one of the wildest and most secluded nooks of Ramapo Pass was gathered in the early spring of 1776 a band of young men. They were dressed, at least most of them, in backwoods or hunter costume, and all of them armed with rifles. In the center of the group stood one who was rather better dressed, and whose rifle was more elaborately inlaid with silver and mother of pearl, and his form towered above the others like a stately pine among humbler hemlocks of the forest. His companions stood around him in rapt attention, and it was easy to discern that they looked upon him as their leader, and one whose commands they were ready to obey. This was Claudius Smith, the Tory leader of a reckless band of mountaineers raised by him from among the fortresses of the Ramapo Range. Smith's Cave is located in the Ramapo Mountains within the boundaries of Harriman State Park, where rock sank and became part of the floor of a great trough of the earth tens of miles wide and hundreds of miles long. It was probably formed of blocks of rock that were pried out of the cliff by thaw freeze, thus the cave may date back to the Pleistocene era, when thaw freeze was at its maximum. Claudius Smith, contrary to popular romancing, was not the Robin Hood who pillaged the rich to aid the poor. The facts revealed indicate quite the opposite. No one, whether rich or poor, residing in the neighborhood or passing through, was spared. No one slept safely in his bed. Many families hid themselves at night in barns, returning each day blessed their good fortune that their houses had escaped the flames. While the British Army, quartered in New York City, and Washington's Continentals were spread along the Hudson, Claudius Smith operated a neutral ground. If you lived within this neutral ground and you took the oath of fidelity to the American cause, the Cowboys were sure to get you. And if you didn't, the treacherous Skinners would denounce you as a Tory. Smith's Cave consisted of two areas. The top portion was for the bandits, while the bottom was for his booty of horses and cattle, which he found a ready market for with the British and British-held New York City. This is also what earned him the nickname the Cowboy of the Ramapos. Farmers and other citizens of the countryside, whether Tory or Whig, equally hated and feared Claudius and his mob. Finally, after Claudius had murdered in cold blood a Major Strong, Governor Clinton of New York issued a proclamation officially declaring him an outlaw. A reward of $500 for his capture and deliverance to the Orange County Jail at Goshen was broadcast. When Claudius found out about this, he ran to New York City and hoped to find protection with his British customers, but their reception of him was an unproductive visitor that was still very much unsafe. He moved to Long Island, but he was recognized by an expatriate Whig who formerly lived on Long Island and turned him in. The public considered him a murderer, but he was tried for stealing cattle and other thievery. Pronounced guilty, he was promptly hanged January 22, 1779, in the square of the old courthouse in Goshen, New York. If you plan to visit his den, bear in mind that Harriman State Park is 44,000 acres, so bring a map. Park at the Tuxedo Station and not the trailhead to avoid a ticket. Parking at the old Sebago Beach is a much easier in. Parking at the end of Johnstown Road is a much hillier path. The Claudius Smith Den short loop is 6.1 miles and moderately trafficked. I hope you enjoyed this story about Claudius Smith, the Ramapo Cowboy.